iKamper Skycamp Mini. The good, the bad, and the somewhat indifferent. Stay tuned. So this is a 2-month review of my iKamper Skycamp Mini. I'm not going to go into too much detail of how much I paid for it. Clearly you know that they're expensive, probably more so expensive in the UK than they are in the US. I have the awning and also the annex room, which is up now. So when I'm parked up for more than a couple of days, I generally put up the annex room. If it's overnight stops, the awning goes up. So you're not going to see a video of me clambering up and down, putting this tent up and down. You've seen it plenty of other places. Yes, it takes about a minute to put it up and just over a minute to take it down again. The awning, about 10 minutes. Once with practice you can figure out how to do it. And the annex room is slightly more complex in how you put it up. Same concept where it zips to the outside of the tent. But depending on how many side panels you open up and put in the guide ropes down, again about 20 to 25 minutes to put the whole thing up. Now I chose the Mini for a number of different reasons. My Defender is a 90, so it's the short wheelbase. And as you can see, I still have room on the back of my roof rack to be able to put a bag. There's a lot of real goodies hidden away in that bag, but it gives me extra storage. If I'd gone with the full length iKamper, I would have no storage. And because I've got a really short wheelbase vehicle, storage is paramount. Those of you looking at this tent suddenly will realize that it's on the wrong way around. Actually, let me clarify. I had to turn it around purely because on the other side of the vehicle I have all my drop-down table and my gull wings to get to my fridge. So if I was to put it on this way, it would mean putting up a separate awning. It just got complicated. So I chose to turn it around. I think one of the major reasons why it is sided is for the American market, driving on the other side of the road, but also the hump on the roof, as you can see there, is more streamlined. Now, driving a Defender, you wouldn't exactly call it aerodynamic. It's about as streamlined as a brick. So to me, it doesn't really matter which way around it goes. It's still going to get buffeted by the wind. But if you have a smaller vehicle, something like Mini, which you've seen videos of them on, I think it's important to make sure it is around the right way because it will actually stop the buffing. Driving, no noticeable difference. I mean, this is a beast to drive anyway, so putting the extra weight, which is about 120 pounds up there, doesn't really make any difference to its road holding or handling. Even off-road, you barely notice it up there, and there's zero wind noise as well. So on to installation. Again, it's round the opposite way, but for me to install it, it's quite difficult. The camper comes with 2 rails bolted to the bottom of the composite floor. So those had to come out. Now my roof rack, you cannot get access to the crossbars. There's flat panel roofing on there. So luckily, Cargo Bear, who make this roof rack, have come up with an ingenious sort of Russian doll type setup. So inside, you can just about see that, there is this grid system. So basically there's a box, an outer box and an inner box. So the outer box gets bolted to the roof rack and the inner box gets bolted to the bottom of the tent. So to get this installed correctly, I had to take off the old rails, which were 6 bolts, put back the bolts and the nuts to make sure that they were watertight, siliconed them up, and then put the frame on, centered it, and had to drill, I think it was 8 M6 holes, silicone them in. Installation took about an hour to take the old rails off and put the new rails on. So installation was pretty straightforward, and because it's a relatively light tent, it was quite easy to sort of put it up on two sort of sawhorses, pop the tent, climb underneath, get access to the nuts and bolts, and then manage to put the frame in quite quickly. So let's talk a bit about build quality. This tent is probably one of the best tents I've ever had, and I've had a few of them in my time. But the quality of the materials, the stitching, the guide ropes, the quality of the, let's have a look at the guide ropes, the quality of the guide ropes and the tensioners are absolutely brilliant. The poles, brilliant. And it's small attention to detail which really make this tent, in my opinion, one of the best on the market. So as you can see, they've got these little covers, and that stops the water running down the inside of the tent. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I have seen them on other tents, but inside of this tent, it's excellent. A couple of the things that I want to point out, which probably would come under the indifference category, is iKamper seem to love their logos. It's absolutely plastered with logos. Right here, you can see the logos on the side, on the roof, on the tent poles, on the guide rope tensioners, even on the zips. Both sides of the zips, every single zip has got an iKamper logo, front and back. On the hinges on the tent, iKamper logos. So I understand that branding in this day and age is really important, but the logos are everywhere on this tent. Now this is a major bugbear for me, is I don't mind the logos on the tent. It's part and parcel of what you're buying here. But the cheap and nasty logos that are actually on the hard shell came off straight away. Now I didn't like the just the all black, and clearly taking this off-road, it's already got scratches on it. There are ways of getting the scratches out, but as I mentioned before, I absolutely detested the plasticky chrome logos with the iKamper. I think it was the K was in red. Anyway, they came off. I could actually pick them off. They were that used double-sided tape to get on there, so they came off straight away. And if you look, Land Rover, take off the R and spell it the other way around, Overland. And on the front, I had some more Land Rover badging as well, and so that badging went on as well. After doing just over 1,500 miles across the Spanish Pyrenees, going through trees and scrapes, it's actually held up quite well. So although most people probably won't do the type of off-roading that I've been doing with this, the scrapes aren't that bad, and I think you can get them out. I think if you use that Maguire's black, you can get them out. But there's no big indentations in it, there's no scrapes, big scrapes, and I think they can come out. So it's held up quite well considering the amount of off-roading that this thing's been through. Now this is an expensive tent. And one of the things you would expect for the money is power. At least 2 USBs and some light in the tent as well. It doesn't come with any of those. So what I've had to do is to make some modifications, and that involves putting in an Anderson plug in the bottom of the tent. So my Anderson plug fits in here and up through the bottom of the tent, and then the Anderson plug itself actually goes to my Red Vision system, where I can control turning on the power to the tent or not, and there's an Anderson plug that goes in through the window. I chose to do it temporary instead of permanent. It's just easier to set it up than having more wires running up through the roof. Now a couple of things about this tent, and if you go on the internet you see a lot of complaints about the mattress and also condensation. So let's cover condensation first. When I first got this tent, I took it out for a night wild camping in Herefordshire, not Hereford. I had no condensation. I actually found the mattress okay. I'm a side sleeper. I found it okay. I didn't find it, uncomfortable. But trawling the internet, condensation was clearly an issue. And you can buy this liner. It's quite thick. It's a vapor barrier. And so what I did was I took out the mattress, and there are two pieces of this all the way down the length of the tent. And I've not had any condensation at all. And you can see where the join is in between the two parts of the tent. So this gets rid of all condensation, and it does provide some sort of firmness and support. I ditched the mattress, and I have this Climate. It's a pump-up mattress. It's a double, and it's very comfortable. And the great thing about this is you can let the air in and out when you need it. So I've ditched the mattresses and gone with this. And having this in place actually allows me to store sleeping bags, pillows, and when this is deflated, you just pull the plug on it, push everything down to that side, fold it over, and everything stays up here. So as I mentioned before, I put power into this upstairs into the tent. Here in the corner is where the cable comes in from the Anderson plug outside and goes into this little USB power block. So here I've got a voltmeter and 4 USB plugs. There's also some cabling that goes here to my lights. So here are my hardcore lights. They're Australian, and turn them on. The great thing about these lights is that they're both amber and white and a mixture of both, and they're dimmable. So the way that the connectors, they basically come with these push fit connectors, and what I've done is the cables go from the controller, which is in the pocket, down here, goes along the floor, up the inside of this covering, it clips onto the top of the rail, down the other side, and out through the side of the tent. And I'll get downstairs and show you what it looks like for the ones that have got the. So I showed you where the loop is. Then they come down here. There's a cable here, push fit connector, straight to the lights, push fit connector to another light, and then it terminates on the other side. And the reason why I've done that is just in case I need to put any other lights in place, I can just screw them straight in and I could go somewhere else. But these are Australian. You can get them in the States. That's where I got these from. They're called Hardcore, K-O-R-R. I'll put a link in the description. And they're absolutely brilliant. They're low power. And because of the controller up inside of the tent, it makes it really easy to set these on either yellow or amber or white, and then dim them as and when you need them. Is it worth the price? Yes. And for me and my application, with the footprint going on a Defender 90, it's basically the only tent I could find that had all of the attributes I needed to fit what my overlanding profile would look like in a Defender 90 with minimal space on the roof. So it's an excellent tent. The gripes are the logos plastered all over the place, the lack of power, but that was rectified fairly easily, and also the mattress. But again, I think the mattress comes down to personal preference. A lot of people switch them out. As you've seen, I've switched mine out to a pump-up, blow-up mattress. But I think the options are endless. So I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of my iKamper Skycamp Mini, the modifications, my impressions of the good, the bad, and the indifferent. If you like this content, please don't forget to click and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.